On today's primetime local news, the town of Vermilion is getting set to test out a town-wide Wi-Fi system.
So really looking at the importance of maintaining those businesses here and allowing them to link.
And some of the hottest gifts in technology in video games this holiday season.
Require a lot of smart home technology, so voice assistants, smart plugs where you can turn on and off your devices with your phone.
Plus, we go back to 2005 where they learned how to avoid stress during the holidays.
Prime time local news, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Good evening, welcome to Primetime Local News. I'm Jasmine King. Vermilion businesses will be coming online in the new year. After testing this summer, the town of Vermilion will be rolling out their town Wi-Fi this February, and our Eric Bay has the story.
The new Wi-Fi connection was tested on a smaller scale at this year's Vermilion Fair, where the town was looking for demand from the community, while also working out a few kinks with connection.
So the testing, we actually had over 4,000 hits or pings, they call it. So we do know that there's definitely a demand and a need. The equipment worked well. Our struggle was the connection we actually had to the internet. And so we recognize that we actually do need to connect that to fiber.
The idea for the town's own Wi-Fi, which will be installed in Vermilion's business sector first, came from seeing poor connection in rural areas and the need for business owners to reliably connect with people outside the area.
So one of the challenges we've heard from our business sector is really that opportunity. For example, my debit machine is going down, as simple as that, all the way to I can't provide training for my staff because they can't actually watch ongoing video. So really looking at the importance of maintaining those businesses here and allowing them to link to Houston if they're an oil company, or just to their online purchasers if they're a retail company.
With support from multiple businesses around town, a 6-month trial will begin in February.
Our community has moved forward on this. We're hoping actually to launch our VNet, I believe is what we're going to call it, in February. So we're actually currently putting polls in as we speak and hoping to do that test run in with our business sector for February.
After testing in the business sector, the plan is to expand the internet to residential areas of town. Vermilion will also be partnering with Marwayne and Paradise Valley to support them and their own broadband internet projects. Eric Bay, Primetime Local News.
With Christmas 2 days away, most people have already completed their Christmas shopping. But the day that comes afterwards, Boxing Day, is one of the busiest shopping days of the year. Best Buy is one store where you can see customers buying products for many different age groups. This year, they've noticed some of the more popular products have been those looking to improve their home.
There's been lots of great gifts this year so far. A lot of smart home technology, so voice assistants, smart plugs where you can turn on and off your devices with your phone or by voice. Very, very cool. And then obviously large screen televisions has been a hit. There's 75 inches, 65, and even all the way up to 82 inch. So.
They currently have deals in store for video games, computers, and more, but Boxing Day is when the bigger sales start.
Lots of inventory that we're prepping up for the Boxing Day sales. Some of them have started already, but all of them will be going on until January 2nd. So some of the great deals will be our cell phones. You can purchase on a contract or outright, our televisions like we were talking before, and then obviously all the gifts and presents like the smart home technology and computers and so on.
For more information regarding their Boxing Day deals, visit their website. In this week's retrospect, our Abby St. John goes back to 2005 and takes a look at 2 different Christmas stories.
Even though Christmas can be a very joyous holiday, it's also the most stressful when it comes to overspending and last-minute shopping.
According to statistics, around 8 million Canadians will spend nearly $2 billion on last-minute holiday gifts today. Last-minute shopping seems to be a tradition.
It's a well-known fact that people who wait till the last moment, much as they like to think they get sales, those sales actually encourage them to spend more, and it's anywhere from 30 to 40% more than they normally spending at the last moment.
Alan has advice for people waiting until the last days to shop.
The best lesson that people can learn is use cash wherever possible, because when you're actually forking out cash, you see the pain immediately, and you have a tendency to be more in control of what you're spending versus the plastic.
The Salvation Army and the Thorpe Recovery Center partnered up to hold a Christmas Day dinner for those in need.
They will also supply all the food for a community Christmas Day dinner.
We provide the food, they provide the facilities, the volunteers and the cooks.
The Salvation Army will partner with the Thorpe Recovery Center, providing a Christmas meal fit for a king that everyone is invited to enjoy.
Anyone, people traveling through, people who've got people in the hospital, workers, oil field workers that are stuck in town, can't get home for Christmas, anyone at all. It does not depend on income. It depends on if you need a Christmas dinner because you've nowhere else to go for one.
Making enough food means getting an early start, and one high-spirited volunteer has spent days cooking up a storm in the Thorpe Center's kitchen.
Well, all I do is cook the turkeys and peel potatoes, and everything else is supplied by the Salvation Army. So, and as are the turkeys and everything. So I just get it all ready.
For this week's Retrospect, I'm Abby St. John.
Retrospect this week is brought to you by Webb's Ford. Worth your while to drive the extra mile. Webb's Ford in Vermilion.
MLA Colleen Young was in our studios talking to our Judy Gabriel about the highlights and the challenges she faces in 2019 and discusses Saskatchewan's growth plans for the next decade.
We are here with Colleen Young, MLA with Lloydminster, Saskatchewan. Thanks for coming by.
You're welcome.
It was good to have you here. And there's so much has happened this year for you guys.
Absolutely.
We should talk a little bit about the highlights, some of the good things that have gone on throughout 2019.
Yeah. It's been a bit of a challenging year, but at the same time, we've done very well as a province. We started out with a budget that was on balance and on track, and very proud of that because, you know, in these very challenging times, that's always something that, you know, is tough to accomplish. And as a province and as a government, I believe we've done very well in that.
I think so too, yeah. And there's so much in terms of, you know, jobs and the economy and stuff like that as well too. I mean, cancellation of the federal tax, that was a huge thing for us this year. Let's talk a little bit about that. Of course, we have a lot of other things that came through this year, but that was a major one for people.
It is. And you know what, it really has been a challenge, and a no fault of our province and our government, but more of the impositions that have been put on the province by the federal government over the last few years. And you know, our oil and gas sector in particular, and some of the challenges they've seen with Bill C-69 and Bill C-48 have been, I think, the biggest hurdles.
Yeah. What do you think we're looking forward to in terms of that now? You know, in terms of, you know, even our exports to international markets, you know, the pipeline that's happening right now. What are the challenges there for us?
Well, I think you know, we've had some good news lately. Enbridge Line 3 on the Canada side has been completed and is in working order. So hopefully that'll be completed into the States, because that is one of our largest trading partner currently in the oil and gas industry. As we've heard just this week, TMX is on the move, and there are some jobs going to be created there. But you know, that was something that should have happened years ago, and I think that, you know, as a government, we have stood up for the people in Saskatchewan to push back on them and ensure that it's an industry and a resource that we need to keep moving forward.
For sure. How do you think people are anticipating that type of thing? I mean, there's so much talk here in this town, right, about all of that.
Right, and I agree, it is talk, you know, and it has been a significant challenge, particularly for Lloydminster in this area, because as we know, we are a very big oil industry here in this area of the province, and a lot of those companies and businesses have hung on for as long as they can, but after 4 and 5 years, you know, they have to ensure that they are meeting revenues for their investors and for the people that work for them. So some of them have gone elsewhere and gone to the States, as we know, but we still have some in our area that are strong and are, have continued to invest in Saskatchewan, and we're very appreciative of that.
Beautiful. And of course, one more thing that I don't want to forget is a commitment to renegotiating a new equalization formula.
Agreement.
I wish I could say that word.
No, that's fine. That's good. Yeah. Yes, and our Premier, as we know, just was chairing the Federation of Premiers Conference in Toronto last week, and that was one of the topics that was put on the table. And we as a province have been pushing back on the federal government to treat us the same as the eastern provinces, particularly Quebec and Ontario.
Of course. And of course, we have that Saskatchewan growth plan, the next decade of growth, 2020 to 2030. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Right. I think, people will remember when we became government in 2007, the former Brad Wall, our Premier, put a growth plan in place then for 10 years of progress. And for the most part, we have met all of those targets. There's a few that, we have found challenging and are still working on. This is the next one. We know that, it's important to put a strategic plan in place for the people to see where we're going in the future. And back in August, we had a caucus retreat, and many of us put forward some wonderful ideas, and we've come up with 30 new goals for 2030, and we plan on trying to achieve every last one of them.
What would be the highlight of that for people to kind of anticipate the
Well, I think growing our economy so that, we have more people working here, more people employed, 100,000 more new jobs is a target that we're reaching for. And I think we'll find that. I think that we have some advantages here in Saskatchewan that we have not really pushed ourselves, particularly in the tech sector and in our agriculture industries. And I think that's something we're really looking forward to doing.
It looks promising. Thank you so much. We're out of time, but thank you for being here with us this year.
Yeah,
awesome.
Well, you're welcome, and I say Merry Christmas to you and to everyone else out there.
Definitely. Happy holidays, for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now to our Abby St. John with the weather.
Thanks, Jasmine. Well, it's -5 currently here in Lloydminster. We did experience some snowfall this morning and through the afternoon, and we got quite a bit of snow this morning. North winds coming in at 3 kilometers per hour, making it feel slightly cooler at -7 with that wind chill. Across Alberta, -6 in Cold Lake, -7 in Athabasca, -10 in Edmonton, -17 in Red Deer, -14 in Edson and Rocky Mount House, -18 in Jasper, and -10 out in Whitecourt. And on the Saskatchewan side, -5 in Meadow Lake, -7 in Prince Albert, and then -6 in Melfort, Saskatoon, and in North Battleford. And in North Battleford overnight, they'll have heavier cloud coverage with the temperature dropping to -9, and that wind will pick up just slightly and switch directions to the southwest at 6 kilometers per hour. And then tomorrow will pick up to 11 kilometers per hour coming in from the southeast with a daytime high of -4 and that mostly cloudy sky. And there could be a chance that you'll see some snowfall in North Battleford as well. Cold Lake overnight at -8 and that 4 kilometer per hour winds coming in from the south-southwest with a mostly cloudy skies, which will continue tomorrow, but with a daytime high of -5, and that wind will be coming from the south-southeast at 13 kilometers per hour. And then here in Lloydminster overnight, the temperature will drop to -8 and that wind will pick up to 9 kilometers per hour coming in from the southwest, and then pick up to 13 kilometers per hour coming in from the south-southeast tomorrow with a daytime high of -6, and there is a 30% chance that we could see some snowfall with a risk of freezing rain mixed in there. Tomorrow's high will feel closer to -14 with that wind chill, and then on Wednesday it'll feel pretty cold, the daytime high of -4, but it'll feel closer to -22 with that wind chill with a low of -7. And then on Thursday, it should be a nice sunny day with a high of -11, which will feel closer to -21 and a low of -16. That is a look at your 3-day forecast. We'll have more news coming up after the break.
Our Justin Marshall took time to sit down with Bonnyville Mayor Gene Sobolewski to find out how things went for him this year and what his plans are heading into 2020.
Hey, it's Justin Marshall in Bonnyville here for Primetime Local News. We're at the community Christmas dinner, and we're wrapping up 2019. I'm here with the mayor of Bonnyville, Gene Cebulowski. First of all, why'd you come out to the community Christmas dinner, Gene?
Because this is an annual event for me, and it's a chance to give back, say hello, renew some relationships, and basically just have a fun time.
2019, was it a fun time?
2019 was a challenging time, particularly the last half of it with the whole ID 349 and the minister making decisions. But you know what? Prior to that, we had a lot of accomplishments. We've got the water line under construction. We see light at the end of the tunnel with getting that Cold Lake water here. And all in all, from a council perspective, we grew together as a group. We had the elections both federally and provincially. We're starting to build relationships there. So all in all, it was a very good year.
Talk about that water line. Every year in interview I've done so far, everybody's talked about that regional water line. It's the most money in this region ever, I think, invested, right?
Absolutely. And when we talk about the water line, it was always, we need the water line, got to get the water line. So in 2019, we were building the water line. I can hardly wait for the interview in 2020 when we said, and we're holding those wine glasses full of water, and we go clink. It finally happened.
How important is that water line?
That water line is very important because we're going to be hearing from LICA on Tuesday about the state of the lake in terms of phosphorus and things like that. And we're going to hear things, I expect anyway, I haven't seen the report, but I'm hearing things that our water is continuing. We're going to need to do some work. We're going to have to start working on solutions just to get it to a pristine lake or a lake the way it was 20, 30 years ago.
What other things do you feel the town of Bonnyville accomplished in 2019?
Well, perhaps one of the most momentous items for me was the raising of the Treaty 6 flag. For me, that was intensely satisfaction for myself because we are, and recognizing that we do have our Indigenous neighbors, that we are on lands that have been used for a number of years prior to our arrival here. And we have to respect that, and we also start respecting that in our decision making. So we have the flag flying in our chambers. In 2020 moving forward, we want to do that with the Métis Nation as well and start flying that flag as well.
I was actually at that flag raising, and one of the things stuck out to me was a lot of the First Nations leaders said, this finally happened. We've been trying to work for it for 30, 40, 100 years, and it finally happened. Why do you think they felt so special about it?
Because they actually have been saying, hey, what about us? And, we have issues, we have things that we need to say, but nobody was listening. Or very little, but it's really taken, a turn of governments and things like that. And a lot of sitting down and actually speaking with elders and speaking with people that there's a lot of contribution and there's a lot of opportunity to partner, and it's the recognition and the town. I'm very proud that we were one that were able to do that in 2019.
Why did you listen?
Because you have to, because everybody brings a voice to the table, and their voice is fairly unique because they have so much rich history here in this area, and it's a matter of the contributions that they can bring, not only in from their culture and things like that, but being able to work together and building those bridges and narrowing those gaps between everybody, just so we can all work in harmony.
What needs to happen in 2020 to make it great?
I think we need to continue with that. I'm hoping that that fairly soon we'll have the ID 349 issue resolved, and hopefully we close that chapter. We are going to have a lot of healing that needs to happen. We're going to have a lot of things that we need to start looking forward to in our economy. There's some glimmers and some flashlights that are starting to beam through the darkness, but still we're going to have to worry about our economy. We're still going to have to worry about what our federal leaders are doing. But again, it's going to be working together and enhancing this region economically. I think that's going to be our key.
What do you want to get done?
Well, depending on what happens, we're probably not going to get very much done, or we're going to be able to continue working on some of the roads we need to do, the infrastructure, tackling that with the advent of the ID 349, if we're successful with that. If we're not, we're going to be needing to do a lot of working with the government to try and resolve the issues that basically they got us into in terms of the water line and paying for the water line.
Gene, I really appreciate your time, and happy year, happy 2019, and happy 2020.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to yourself too.
All right, we're going to send it back to you guys in studio.
Now we'll take a look at your stock market prices for today.
First General Services wants to wish you and your family a safe and joyous holiday season.
Welcome back. A series of recalls is highlighting a not-so-appetizing fact about bag salads. Prep produce also carries a greater risk of bacterial contamination. Health experts say there's no need to drop the fresh fruits and veggies from your holiday spread, but there are ways to mitigate the risk of foodborne illness. McGill University food safety expert Jennifer Rowland says pre-washed and chopped produce is not always as clean as it looks, and when leafy greens are chopped up, bacteria can enter the wounds of the plant. Despite the scares, Dalhousie University food researcher Sylvain Charlebois says such frequent alarm bells show the system is working. The chairman of Manitoba Pork says it was a difficult year for pork production in the province. In a year-end newsletter, George Matheson says the year saw a return of a porcine epidemic diarrhea, a viral disease commonly known as PED. He says they clearly need a different approach if they hope to put an end to the disease in Manitoba. Matheson says the price received for pigs has also been a major disappointment in 2019 as producers continue to feel the effects of the U.S. and Chinese tariff retaliations. Now here are your egg prices.
We're a part of less than 5% of Canadian auto body shops and Lloydminster's only locations with certified collision care recognition at City Centre Auto Body.
Thanks, Jasmine. We'll take a look at our satellite radar. Lloydminster did experience some snowfall for the majority of today, a little bit last night as well. We did get a fairly large amount of snow, which we haven't really seen so much this season, but it's definitely here. In Edmonton, they had some pretty heavy snowfall as well throughout the day and in the Vegreville-Marwayne area. And then up in the Cold Lake area as well, they had some light snowfall as it made its way to the more Saskatchewan side. Heavier cloud coverage as well was the trend for most of the region, both provinces. Down in Maidstone, North Battleford, and up in the St. Walburg Meadow Lake area, they also have been experiencing some snowfall as it makes its way more into Saskatchewan. Down in North Battleford, there was a bit of a mix of freezing rain as well added into it, which we could see tomorrow. There's about a 30% chance of some more snowfall with that added risk of freezing rain with that as well. -5 here in Lloydminster as well as in Macklin and St. Walburg, -6 in North Battleford and in Maidstone and Meadow Lake, -7 in Pearceland and in Isla Cross. And on the Alberta side, -5 in Provost and in Wainwright and up in Lac La Biche, -4 in Vermilion, Vegreville and St. Paul, -10 out in Edmonton, -6 in Marwayne, Bonnyville and Cold Lake. And tomorrow -6 here for Lloydminster, as well as out in Edmonton and up in Lac La Biche, -5 in Cold Lake, Bonnyville, St. Paul, Vegreville, Vermilion, and Marwayne, -4 in Wainwright, and -3 in Provost. And on the Saskatchewan side, -4 in Isla Crosse, Green Lake, Pearceland, Meadow Lake, and North Battleford, -6 in St. Walburg, -5 in Maidstone, and -3 in Macklin. And overnight across the region, fairly heavy cloud coverage. Pearceland could experience some snowfall tonight, as there is a chance that a lot of the region will see some snowfall tonight and into tomorrow, hopefully dying down by mid-afternoon, with temperatures ranging between -8 and -10. Across Canada nationally, 5 degrees in Vancouver, -4 in Whitehorse, where they're experiencing some snowfall. It's pretty clear in Yellowknife as at -21. In Regina, it's -4. +2 in Quebec City, where they're experiencing some snowfall, -2 in Halifax, and -5 out in St. John's. And your next 7 days, a high of -6 and a low of -8 for tomorrow, with heavier cloud coverage. And then on Wednesday, it'll be a high of -4 and a low of -7. On Thursday, it should be a nice sunny day with a high of -11 and a low of -16. On Friday, it'll be a mix of sun and cloud with a high of -4 and a low of -14. On Saturday and Sunday, the daytime highs are -5, with Saturday as -10 for the low and a mix of sun and cloud. And on Sunday, a mix of sun and cloud with a low of -12. And then to start your week off, again on Monday, it'll be a mix of sun and cloud with a high of -2 and a low of -8. That is a look at your 7-day forecast. We'll have more news and the question of the day coming up after the break.
Now, our question of the day today is revolving around Christmas, as we are only 2 days away, which is actually crazy how fast December has gone by. But we asked you guys what your favorite Christmas movie is, and we did get a lot of different answers regarding that.
Yeah, a lot of the majority of people said Christmas Vacation, National Lampoon's Holiday, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. All that was definitely the most popular. I noticed when I was looking. Home Alone was another one that was repeated again, but there's just so many to choose from, and everyone just has a wide variety of what they love, and you know, it's just you'll be able to find something for yourself.
I know when I was a kid, I enjoyed watching The Grinch, but it did kind of scare me. Sometimes the way that Jim Carrey would smile kind of freaked me out. But I think it's definitely a classic, like we mentioned. There's a lot of classics that people go back to each and every year.
Yeah, on TV, on CBC, they are always playing Frosty the Snowman and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. That scared me as a kid. It still kind of freaks me out to this day, just the way that they were made and just the way the animation was. It still freaks me out.
Well, they're all some good ones, and I'm sure we'll be watching at least one over the Christmas break. But now we're going to be taking a look at your pet pictures. So thank you to everybody who submitted your pet pictures, and we will be giving away a Pet Pad gift card on Friday.
We want to see your pets. Send photos of your pet and their name to our Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram to have them featured on Pet of the Day. Your name will be entered into a weekly draw for a gift certificate from the Pet Pad.
Joining me in studio today for a little bit of sports talk, our very own Abby St. John. And today, Abby and I will be just breaking down, I guess, the year of 2019 in sports. It was kind of a crazy year, especially for Canadians, you know, a couple different breakthroughs in a couple different sports here.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting, and I think the biggest thing is tennis really went on the map this year. I think we heard a lot more about tennis because of, you know, tennis star Bianca Andreescu. She won the Grand Slam singles title, the first Canadian to do it, and she's still a teenager. And, you know, a teenager hasn't won since 2006, which I think is super impressive. She's from Canada. No Canadian has won a Grand Slam singles title, and what made it even more special was she beat the greatest tennis player, Serena Williams, in straight sets. Both Saturday and Sunday, won those sets and made history almost. And it's amazing because Serena Williams is always going to be the greatest. She came back, she played while pregnant, she had a tough pregnancy, and she came back even better. And then Bianca comes along and completely just throws everyone away by her immense amount of talent and her passion for it. Because when you watch her win, the winning moment, it's the most calm I've seen anyone who just broke or who just made history for a sport. And she was so calm, she was so courteous, and it was actually truly amazing to watch.
For sure, and like you mentioned, you know, it's not like she just beat any Joe Schmo off the street. She beat Serena Williams. That's like being, you know, the Wayne Gretzky of women's tennis in the finals. So just, I guess, to do it in that matter is something unbelievable. And another Canadian team, I guess, who beat the powerhouse for their sport, the Toronto Raptors this year, really just ran away with it, led by Nick Nurse and Kawhi Leonard. Just talk about that for a second.
Yeah, being that the Raptors are the only Canadian basketball team, you know, it's not unlikely that people from Canada won't really get into it as much. But this run for the Toronto Raptors this year was unbelievable. And the fact that they were able to beat the Golden State Warriors, who were going for their third championship in a row, I mean, that's incredible that they were able to come back. You know, Kawhi had his game, the buzzer beater, to get into the NBA Finals. I think they deserved it, and they deserve to ride that high for as long as they can. And, you know, they're doing not too bad, even despite losing Kawhi Leonard in the offseason. They're still a strong team. You know, they've fallen with a few major injuries over the past couple of weeks, but I still think that they can be a strong enough team to make it far into the season and actually show that, you know, yes, Kawhi Leonard, he helped us win, but we can still be that force that we were last season, which I think is kind of impressive.
For sure, and I think a lot of people had questions heading into that 2018-19 season, you know, trading away DeMar DeRozan, who was sort of the centerpiece of Toronto Raptors. Typically, when people thought of current Raptors, they thought DeMar DeRozan. So for Kawhi to really, you know, fulfill the expectations that he had put on his shoulders, and for Nick Nurse to come in his rookie season and lead this team to their first championship, like you said, just unbelievable, and unbelievable to just see the whole country get behind them, and you know, their continued their success into this season. And I mean, we the North can. Does it get better than that? You got a whole country behind you with your slogan.
And I think it definitely put Canadian basketball on the map with that run, because like I said, Toronto is the only NBA team from Canada. And so it really did go to show that Canadians know how to play. They know how to fight, and they know how to win. And the fact that the entire country just surrounded this one team really goes to show how much of a fan base Canada is towards sports. And, you know, even when Kawhi Leonard decided to leave Toronto, the amount of love and respect that he had received from Canadian fans from all over, it really just goes to show how much Canadians love sports and prove that we're tough enough to beat the big leagues like the Golden State Warriors.
And now quickly here, another, I guess, former Canadian team turned American team, the Washington Nationals, won their first World Series in franchise history. That's including Montreal Expos days and the Washington Nationals days. And a team that was really an underdog. Nobody thought of them winning. How unbelievable was that?
That was incredible, and I love underdog stories, and especially when they can fight their way to the finish, and they definitely did. You know, they waited 3 decades to get a team in 2005 when they got the Nationals from, you know, the Expos from Montreal. And so it's really impressive that, you know, even despite their long struggle to get to where they are, they really fought for it, and they proved that even an underdog can win.
Well, after re-signing Steven Strasburg, hopefully they won't have to struggle for much longer.
Furniture set and design supplied by Furniture Gallery and Furniture House, downtown Lloydminster.
Back in studio once again with our own Abby St. John to run down through the sports of the 2019 calendar year. I think what better way to kick it off than a team that was in last place to start 2019 with the St. Louis Blues, who of course came back to win the Stanley Cup.
I think that was impressive, not just because they beat the Bruins and everyone loves when the Bruins lose, but the fact that, like you said, they were dead last in the standings in January. And then just one smart move by acquiring rookie goaltender Jordan Binnington, they blew everyone away, went on a franchise record-breaking win streak, and managed to win the Stanley Cup Finals for the first time against the Boston Bruins, who they lost to in the Stanley Cup Finals in 1970, which was their last Stanley Cup Final appearance. So it's definitely a rematch that they blew away.
For sure, and you mentioned that that's the last time they made the Stanley Cup. If lots of people at home know the famous picture of Bobby Orr flying through the air, that is the matchup that Abby is talking about. And like you said, they went on that, real hot streak there, a franchise record. And it all started when Chief Craig Berube, the Alberta native, came in and took over in November. He really just turned that team around. And sometimes it's just, one or two pieces being for the St. Louis Blues, goaltender Jordan Binnington and coach Craig Berube. Binnington, he's one of 5 goalies in NHL history to have his first 20 wins in the NHL within his first 25 games. So just saying that and bringing up those numbers, it's almost like, it would be hard to believe that he didn't win the Stanley Cup after posting those kind of numbers, and really just watching the buy-in from that team and hearing what some of the teammates, some of the players who are on that team have to say. It sounds like a winning environment that everybody wants to be a part of. As you see Braden Shen re-sign with them this summer, people want to be there, and I think I'm a big believer that Craig Berube is that main reason why they were so successful. A couple other sports where people have seen success, specifically in the NFL this year. Yeah. And I mean, there's been a couple stud quarterbacks who have really ran away with the games this year.
Yes, definitely. To start out, Lamar Jackson, he has always been kind of a name, and he's talented, but this year alone, I think, is one of his best seasons. And just the fact that he just came out on the scene and exploded, but then he beat Michael Vick's single season rushing yards record by over 100 yards. He's currently sitting at 1,206. Michael Vick was at 1,036. And so it's so impressive that the season's not even over. So his numbers are going to continue to climb. And the fact that he was able to do that, the record has been standing since 2006. And no quarterback has been able to break it until this year and until Lamar Jackson, which I think is impressive. And then another quarterback, longtime vet, Drew Brees. He's been on the scene for so many years. He beat Peyton Manning's touchdown record, and he is ahead by 2 touchdowns. Tom Brady follows him by 3. Which is funny because Tom Brady just won his 6th Super Bowl, so it's interesting looking at different stats. Does the stats make the player great, or does the amount of wins make the player great? That's kind of the debate that opens up because, Drew Brees doesn't have 6 rings, Tom Brady has 6 rings, but Drew Brees has gotten way more touchdowns than Tom Brady. So it's definitely an interesting debate, but it's amazing just how good Drew Brees really is, and people definitely need to hold him higher.
For sure, and those touchdown numbers do not include playoffs. That's regular season only. So I guess you could have that debate there. Yeah. Tom Brady, rather. He's dominant throughout playoffs and maybe even takes it a step higher there. But I just want to ask you one question quickly. Lamar Jackson, do you think he's changing how quarterbacks are going to be developed from now on? When he was entering the draft, there was questions. Are they going to turn him into a running back or a DB? But, I mean, I guess keeping him at quarterback has done the Ravens well. So do you think that's going to change how quarterbacks are developed?
I think so. I think the game is now turning into more of a running game. It is definitely a rush game. And having a quarterback that is able to escape the pocket and run around and run fast and maneuver around other players to get where they need to be, I think is definitely going to be the way quarterbacks are now being formed, because you have quarterbacks like Russell Wilson who can move so quickly and get out of the pocket, and then Lamar Jackson coming out and just explosive run games, you know, running and finding the smallest holes and just barricading his way through it and being successful 95% of the time, I think is the way quarterbacks are now going to be developed, because you need that aspect of running. You know, you look at Tom Brady or Ben Roethlisberger, they can't run as, you know, well as most, so they don't really perform as well anymore because the game is now evolving into more of a rushing game.
Well, I guess only time will tell if the possible MVP this season, you know, how he changes the outlook on the NFL.
Take a look at your 7-day forecast, a high of -6 and a low of -8 for tomorrow. There's about a 30% chance that we could see some snowfall in the morning, hopefully dying off by noon. And then on Wednesday, a high of -4 and a low of -7. On Thursday, it's supposed to be a nice sunny day with a high of -11. On Friday, a mix of sun and cloud with a high of -4. And then on the weekend, both Saturday and Sunday, it will be a high of -5 and a mix of sun and cloud. And then to start your week off again on Monday, it'll be a mix of sun and cloud with a high of -2 to wrap up your 7-day forecast.
So at least it's looking like on Christmas and Christmas Eve, it's not going to be too cold out there.
No, it's going to be pretty nice. We're definitely going to have a white Christmas. We were probably going to have one anyways, but more of a white Christmas because we hadn't really seen a whole lot of snow here specifically. So it's kind of nice, but again, the road conditions aren't that great.
Yeah, it's always that's what it comes to. And I mean, I was surprised to see the amount of snow today, so it looks like Christmas is going to be very similar. But thanks for joining us for another edition of Primetime Local News. We'll have more local news tomorrow.